Welcome everyone to Dragon Quest FM, where we talk about and obsess over Dragon Quest. I'm Austin,
I'm BJ.
and this week is the first real episode on Dragon Quest 3 2D HD 2D
HD-2D. 2D HD. No, 2D HD. Right?
2D HD remake. Yes. Um, so there's going to be some spoilers for the first little bit of the game now because BJ started playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to be spoilers for like late game stuff. If you missed our review, you can check that out. We have that posted up for a podcast and on YouTube and all that good stuff. So let's just hop right into it, I guess. You're playing this on Switch, and I played it
Yeah.
on PS.
I'm both glad and sad that I decided to get it on Switch. The performance is obviously a Switch game, where
Okay.
it's not going to be the PlayStation 5, which I've actually been playing almost exclusively on lately. The
Mhm.
only thing I've played on Switch lately has been Cult of the Lamb. And so it had performance issues on Switch, like if there was too much going on. So I loaded in on DQ3 and it had a few stutters. I could see not bad, like not even like lag really, but it was like I could notice immediately the frame rate was lower and that it was a little choppier than I was used to, and which is fine. But I'm also really glad I did because even, I just got it on Monday and we're recording this on Wednesday. And even then, I've needed to be able to play it handheld, where it was like Jennifer was using the TV, like she's off
Mhm.
sick today, and I was playing it this morning, and I was needed to be able to use the handheld to be able to do it, so that she had the TV while she was feeling poorly. So I'm glad I did that way, but I haven't run into like issues with the graphics though, with like any performance, like in the actual gameplay, it's just fine. I've only been like, oh, this is lower frame rate than I would be getting on PS5, and that's about it in terms of the performance stuff. I've not actually running through any of the dungeons or fights or anything. I've had no slowdown or anything whatsoever. Um,
Okay, that's good. I've heard, yeah, because I'd heard from people like now that the game is out that there's performance issues on the Switch, and I mean it ran like a dream on PS5. Like I had no problems at all. I
yeah,
mean
I bet.
I didn't notice any bugs with it. There was no like nothing was wrong with it at all. I mean it was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's why I'm sad about that. I decided to get this. That I was sad instead of getting either the PC or the PS5 version. That it is the one that will have, and I knew it going in. I knew going in it would have the lowest performance rating of any of them. Like I
yeah.
knew I was going to be playing in a lower resolution and lower frame rate than I would otherwise. But it's still really pretty. Like the thing about it being on Switch is still like if you've seen Octopath Traveler and liked that kind of graphic style, it fits the Switch really well. Like even though the lighting and shadows and things like that can make the performance and the system lag just a little bit or stutter every now and then, you're still looking at it being very, very pretty. Like the sprites are not overly animated. I guess they're still basic because it's 2D HD, HD 2D.
Yeah. So I actually I didn't mind it because I was kind of like a similar thing. I was like, well, DQ3, I'm probably gonna want to spend some time grinding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why having all those games on like DS, 3DS has been fantastic,
Yeah.
is because I could just sit there. It's much easier to grind on a handheld console than, something like a PS5. But I was like, I'm gonna try PS5 for this one.
Yeah.
And for the main story, the main story was fine. I didn't notice it very much, but I've doubled my playtime from where I got to the ending of the game just
Yeah.
from playing post game right now. So pretty much the entire time during the post game, have really wished that I had it handheld because of,
I
and
bet.
again, no spoilers, but just the grinding that's involved and like doing like there's cleanup because I'm trying to platinum the game at this
Hmm.
point now. So it's like, I'm trying to find the monsters that I've missed, the mini medals that I've missed. I made it to the post game of the post game now.
Which
Um,
is crazy when you told me that that existed. That I didn't expect there to be even more beyond what you and I had already talked about.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but just minor like gameplay spoiler, I
Mm.
guess, for people listening here. So if you don't want that, just skip ahead by like 30 seconds. But essentially, so in like the a regular version of DQ3, like there was Shenlong, Zenlong, Shenlong with an X. I've always said Zenlong, but they pronounce it Shenlong in the voice acting,
Mm.
which makes sense because it's an X and Shenlong. Okay. Anyway, so. And like that was the super boss, and you could beat him, get wishes, whatever. You beat him, that was the end. Now there's like a secret option where it's just a blank, and if you click it, you unlock a new thing called the Temple of Trials. And so that's where I've been
Oh.
really hammering around stuff. And I'm going to talk about if you skipped ahead, the spoilery part is over. But I'm gonna I'm gonna be I can't not wait to rant about
Yeah.
about about this portion of the game whenever that time comes. And it's one of those things where it's like it's post game, it's completely optional. I don't have to do it. And there have been some times in the past week where I'm like, I don't even know if I'm really having fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it's a Dragon Quest game that I started on PlayStation, and it's like I'm gonna feel really bad if I don't like complete it. And
Mm.
so even not even thinking about like trophies or anything, just to like complete it in terms of like getting to the
Seeing all the
very end
stuff.
here. Yeah. I'm like I gotta at least do this. And so I've kind of gotten to a point right now where um because the way that the post game trials are set up, it's going to require me to uh, get different items that I don't have all of yet. But I also
Oh.
I'm essentially going to have to find every monster and every mini medal in the game, and
Oh.
I have not done that because I tried finding monsters like going back to the beginning part
Uh-huh.
of this game and stuff like when you so for people who haven't played it yet, what happens is you unlock you can do Monster Wrangler from the get-go.
From the very
Like
beginning, you can go into Pat upstairs in Patty's, and she'll give you the option for Monster Wrangler, which I did.
yeah, yes, me too, because there's a new class I hadn't done it before, so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so then after you do like what's really the tutorial, like Aliahan, like that whole island,
Hmm.
once you get past all of that, then you unlock it at right before Romeria. You can get your first monster. You unlock the monster arena. Your monster wrangler actually starts learning abilities and things like that. So you can so it's like you can then start doing that. The Monster Wrangler also learns an ability around level 10 called Animal Instinct that
Mm.
you can use, and it'll tell you if one is nearby. So if it's not, it'll be like, sadly, there's not one nearby.
Oh, that's
If
awesome.
if there is one, it'll say there's a monster waiting to be wrangled. And then if there's one close, like in an adjacent map to yours, like maybe
Hmm.
like you're in the town and it's in the castle, it'll say that it's not too far away. And then
Okay.
if it's in like that town and you're in the town, but you're there at daytime and it doesn't come out till night, it'll say there's a monster here, but it's not ready to come out yet, so that you know you need to go change the
Hmm.
time of day. So it's not like the toughest thing. It's just that um they're hidden in the secret areas
Hmm.
that are a little bit harder to track down. And so I'm missing some from basically the secret areas. I've cleared the
Mm.
towns, the dungeons, all that stuff. I'm missing it from the secret areas and then also the post game, and then the post game also have monsters to recruit and mini medals to find.
Right.
So it's like some of the monsters I like haven't actually come into contact with.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I've got a little ways to go. But that's really jumping ahead. What party did you go with?
So right now I have the hero, I have the monster wrangler, I have a priest, and I have a fighter.
Okay.
So I would just went with a pre. You and I talking about that last week kind of made me decide not to go with the mage and go with the fighter instead, because of that same thing of just bashing things up front, like not having to worry about MP and not having to worry about anything else. And it made me mad at the very beginning because I don't know. I think it was my Monster Wrangler, but I was, when you're in those first few levels, you're out grinding. And like the monsters do a pretty decent amount of damage to you, and you don't have a heal spell yet. And even on Fight Wisely, my warrior just kept using all my medicinal herbs on Fight Wisely. And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's annoying.
stop. Like, it was using every one of them. And I'm like, you don't have to do this. I have a priest. He gets healed like right then. We're right beside town. And I had to put it on Show No Mercy so that she would stop using all of my medicinal herbs while I was trying to get to the point where I could actually use magic to heal.
Yeah.
It was like just that very first initial like just few minutes of being into being able to combat. I'm like, don't tell me that the AI is this stupid. That if the
Yeah.
that is something that they've never wasted so many items in any DQ game, even at the beginning for me. So when it was just kept throwing just medicinal
Hmm.
herbs left and right, if somebody got lower on health, like under half, which at the very, very, very beginning, like that, when you're going out of town, you take a hit or two and you're pretty well under half because you have like 12 hit points or something. And but I was like, I don't want you to use all of my items. I don't want to have to waste any money I'm getting right now at the very, very beginning on
Yeah.
just finding herbs. But after that, it got fine.
Mhm.
I've got it on Fight Wisely like usual. But I was like, y'all have them using a whole lot of items to when I don't have it on like conserve MP or anything.
Yeah, that's really weird. I never had that issue, but I also never had a fighter in my party
Yeah.
until post game. Because I started out with I had hero, and then I did a monster wrangler, and I did mage and priest.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, I actually think I wish I would have had a thief in my party.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I wish I'd kicked Mage out because then Priest could have become Sage and that would have
Mm-hmm.
taken care of that. I wish I would have started with a Thief and then moved Thief to Martial Artist eventually,
Oh, yeah.
because that's been a little bit more important for post game, but also Thief learns a nice little ability that will tell you when there's treasures and items that are still in an area, even if it's
Oh,
not in a
yeah.
chest, if it's just an item,
Uh-huh.
but also it will show up sparkly. So it makes it a whole lot more easier to find mini metals that are just randomly laying like on the floor somewhere that aren't
Where
even
if
like,
you're not pressing the button as you walk, basically, you're gonna
yeah.
miss them. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I
Huh.
wish so anybody listening, don't play the way I have. I'm convinced that the best way to do this is hero, monster wrangler, priest, and thief is how you should start out in terms
Mm.
of like to just learn the abilities that you'll need to do everything. Um,
I'm
I
I
think that's
may
probably
go
the
back and
best.
replace the fighter. Like with it's solely because of the treasure thing. Like I usually thieves and fighters at the very beginning are comparable enough with hitting things hard enough without worrying about MP. So I'm not worried about that part of it. But that treasure ability is nice, and because there's so many things that they have just sitting on the ground and like the treasures hidden around in this one, I may do that because I was already thinking about changing it up just because I didn't like the names that were on there that I gave them. Just kind of thinking about it, I'm like, maybe I'll start my party over again.
Mhm.
Um, also, did you pre-ordered it? You didn't pre-order it because you were provided a copy and
Yes.
did the review and everything. But I'd pre-ordered it on Amazon, which was you yell at me about doing it. I get it late.
They
I do
always
it
send
every
it
time I
late.
pre-order. Every time I pre-order
Every
anything, you're
time.
like, dude, and which is also funny. Like, dude, go to a store, and which is funny from coming from you because you're like, I'm not leaving this house, and now I'm like that. But I got the pre-order thing. I installed the game. I went and redeemed my pre-order thing, and it's all seeds. It's all the seeds of defense and all of that. And I realized that I need to use them, and I haven't done it yet because I can make my party, as usual, like
Mhm.
any of these games that I love so much. But I never use seeds, and I have so many of them this early
Huh.
in the game, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'll waste them. They're like, it is the stereotype JRPG thing where you have all the potions that you've never used at the final boss, and you're still scared to use them because you might
Uh-huh.
need them later. And I feel that way right now. It's like, do I really want to use all of these seeds to boost myself up at this level? Like, am I going to stick with this party? Am I going to make other NPCs? Should I just put them all in the hero and then my other party members not matter? It's like I really am having this kind of I know I should use this. I open my inventory and bag and see it all the time, and I'm like, you should do that. And it's like, but I really can't. I can't make myself do it. So as you
Yeah.
went through the game, I know you did
Uh-huh.
it with the girls where you had, and this has a point. There's a point that I'm asking here.
Yeah.
You went through the game. You made the characters with the girls. You had Naomi, Rowan, and Nora as your party
That's true. I
members.
don't did we mention that last episode? I
Uh
can't
huh.
remember if I even said
Yeah,
it.
where the
Okay, cool.
girls
Yeah,
went through
I
and
did that with my
created
kids.
everything. Did you
Yeah, yeah.
change party members, actual party members as NPCs,
N-
even though they may have changed their classes?
Uh, no, because I knew you get to All Trades Abbey pretty quick in DQ3, and you just have to have the party member just has to be level 20
Mm,
before they can trade out vocations. So I knew that going in. So when I made Naomi, Nora, Rowan as those vocations, even though I knew I might not stick with those vocations forever,
hmm.
I went ahead and like did the seeds and got them the personalities that I wanted them to
Okay.
have and stuff like that, like experimented around and then went ahead and just stuck with them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then it ended up I never changed my party other than Sage. I never changed my party through the main story, but I've changed it quite a bit in post game out of necessity, but also because there's a trophy you get for learning every spell and ability. So I've got to
Yeah.
use at least everybody a little bit.
Yep.
And so I've done that. Like for a while I was a little worried about the Monster Wrangler because I think
Hmm.
because of the personality they had, it felt like they died a lot.
Right.
And so I was like, man, that kind of stinks. But they were like really good with their once they learn like Monster Pylon is a good one, and then there's Boulder Toss later on, but especially Monster Pylon, it's like it whistles and it does like a bunch of moves, and it's like by the time I got to where I was beating the main story,
Yeah.
that move was like consistently doing like 500,
Yep.
550 damage on its own. And then where I'm at right now in post game, like it's doing just an incredible amount of damage every time. And
Yeah.
so like I feel like the Monster Wrangler is very much kind of the MVP, but also it depends. The thing with Monster Wrangler is so much of it depends on how much you're willing to invest in finding monsters.
Right.
Like if
Like actually go and
you're,
hunt them out that are not on the path of the story, right?
yeah, yeah, like if you're wanting to just like level it up like a traditional class, like you hit level 15 and you learn something, like Monster Wrangler is not going to be the vocation for you. Um, and so I like so that's kind of a sticking point, I guess, if you don't
Yeah.
want to do the stray monster mini game. I knew going in I would want to. What personality is your hero?
I don't remember. I
Okay.
have screenshots and it's in the other room. That's the thing. I took screenshots of everything so that I could have it. And then when we come in here to record, the Switch is sitting on the couch instead of being in front of me. But I'll get those to you. We'll talk about that next time.
Mine,
But I can't remember what the different personalities do either. Like I that was the thing. I didn't look it up when I started, and maybe should have.
mine was idealist is the one I got with. Personality, it's one of those things that I think there's still kind of like secret unknown
Uh huh.
factors in some of them, but it really comes down to like where your stats are. Like if you have
Hmm.
like if like your luck is set at this and your strength is set at this, so
Yeah.
that makes you, this. But then it also can affect stuff with like how fast you level up and how fast you
Yeah.
learn things. So, um, so it's like it is important, but it's also like I've never felt like, and maybe it's just because I've never gotten one of those personalities, but I feel like it's important, but also like a personality has never been make or break for me
Hmm.
necessarily. I've kind of just like stuck with it. Like if I
Yeah.
got if I got a like a show off or a good egg or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, the only one that I didn't really like is one I got this time was Plugger. Um,
I don't know that one.
yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
was the personality, and I was like, I don't really
That's
know.
sounds
I think
dirty.
I think it's like because they're plugging on with it, like they're plugging on.
They're just plugging on. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so they're plugger. Um, yeah, but I kind of had the same reaction where I was like,
like
I don't like
I don't.
that. I don't think
Mm-mm.
I like the word plugger.
I don't think I
So
do.
so I changed I went in and changed the personality
Yeah.
myself as I was correcting it because the like automatic one that it gave me
Hmm.
was plugger and I was like, no, I don't think I want that.
Yeah, plugger
Um,
is not ideal, I don't think. Just because of the word itself.
I don't know. I
Uh
guess I guess it depends.
so
Depends on what you like.
it makes me a little sad that I haven't been able to play this as much as I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I feel like you in this regard, where you and I were talking about stuff recently, and you hurt your hands. You yeah, you have your if you're not if you're watching the video, you can see his
Oh
wrist
yeah,
brace on,
yes, I
and
forgot.
if you're not, he has a wrist brace and showed his arm. And I've been playing it, and like I said, I've been playing it on handheld actually more than I have on the TV. Just when I first started it, and I can't play it for as long periods because I can't end up reading it and seeing it as well
Oh
on
no.
the smaller screen because I had to get this is how you know that I'm old, right? So the doctor actually told me that I'm young to have this start happening. Like I had to get progressive lenses in my stuff already in my new glasses because and it's been going on for like the last 3 or 4 years. So like it hit in my late 30s and he was like, this is very early for this kind of thing in your vision to be this bad.
Uh-huh.
So I did that and so now I got these progressive lenses, but I think they're wrong. And now, as I'm doing this on the video, this is how I have to play games. Like the progressive lenses don't work. I have to play with my glasses tilted like this to be able to even see the thing that I'm holding. And it gives me such awful headaches. And
Mm.
eventually it gets blurry where I can't see the switch or even my phone or 3DS or whatever I've got that I have to stop and it made me feel like you where it's like if I can't use my hands I can't play this. I'm like I can't even read the text on the screen to see what I'm doing. And then I realized, yeah, I texted you about it where on top of that they use this stupid font for Dragon Quest again that I hate. Like I don't understand like this and I didn't know. I'm glad that you actually backed me up on it as being something that was ridiculous that you noticed and didn't like either, but they've been using this like serif font that doesn't fit the art style.
And it's
Like I
like
know
so
what
tiny.
and it's
Yeah.
little. And so blind people, I'm not blind. Like people with really poor vision like mine, I honestly have a hard time reading it because of stuff like that, because of when I get it on the handheld screen, because there's no way to adjust it bigger. And
I think,
so
and I don't think it's just a Dragon Quest problem. I think it's probably like a Square Enix problem because, like the Pixel remasters
right.
launch that way. And like FF14 is one of those games I feel the same way about,
Mm,
where the font doesn't match what's happening. Like they put like this really bright, like it's almost like papyrus, like background, like high
right.
fantasy papyrus paper, like for the dialogue to be on. And it looks a little cartoony and stuff like that, and then it has just like the teensiest little letters like going across that barely take up the full space of it.
Yeah,
And I'm
where
like,
it's
y'all
just
should have made the
the small font of
font. Yeah.
that's a sans serif kind of just very basic font. Yeah, I mean, I think Square Enix has I think they have a font problem, and they should probably
And
uh,
and and I realize font is kind of a dumb thing to have a conversation about,
typeface and
but
font family as well. If those of you really want to be particular about this and leave us comments, like it's the typefacing that's the issue.
like Sandland, I thought Sandland had a nice font that went with its world. It was a good size. It was a
Yeah,
good font. It, went with its world really well, and it looked fine. Like DQ11, I thought was fine. It's
yeah,
just it's like been a thing with just these last few entries, and Square Enix is really bad about doing it with like their remasters, but also like these Team Asano games um, are
I
all really bad about it, where they try to have tiny little fonts.
I don't think it was in DQ Treasures or DQ Monsters Dark Prince. I don't think either of those had it because nothing ever stood out to me as being like this. Where it's the same font. Those of you who are listening, it's the same font that they used in the Switch remasters of one,
Of
two, and three, the 2D versions of
Yeah,
it.
the newer
And
ones I don't
so
think do. I
I
think the
can't.
newer ones have more like 11s, like Treasures and
Yeah,
Monsters 3.
and I'm thinking like, and this is they may have used this font in the 2D version of 11S, but I can't remember. Like, I may just be getting the 2D versions
I think
of
no, I think they did. I think you're probably right.
where it's a design choice, and it's very obviously something that they have made a decision to go all in on, and I disapprove because it's actually kept me from playing the game more. Because my eyesight's bad, and that's how I have come to be sad because of it. But it does. It makes me sad because I've sat there. I'm like moving my head around trying to do it, and just like, all right, fine, I'll stop right now. But it is. I do like the gameplay and everything. I like, except the HD-2D thing keeps making me try to change the camera angle all the
I
time,
I know
just constantly.
this is something I forgot to bring up in the review, and that I just got used to
Yeah.
it, and so I didn't think about it. And then whenever the game came out, I've seen so many people complain about it, and it is really annoying. You can't move the camera around, which
It's a 2D game like the
which
others.
but the problem that I had with it, like I didn't even register it really until once you unlock your ship and then Ramia, Godbird Ramia,
Right.
you still can't do it even in the open world. And so like when I'm trying to hunt down like secret areas and stuff,
Uh-huh.
it makes it very hard because there's only a certain part I can see at any given time.
Oh.
And it also doesn't help that the speed at which your ship and Ramia flies
Uh-huh.
is super slow. I don't know why they made it so slow. I forgot to put that in my review too. But they like the ship, I was like, okay, this is faster than walking, but like it seems a little slow to me.
Yeah.
And then whenever you get Ramia, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be so fast.
Yeah.
And I would say I've not done a side by side comparison, but I would say Ramia in Dragon Quest 3, like the version that's on like Switch and mobile, like that
Mhm.
port of it, Ramia on there goes like twice as fast, I would say. That I'm convinced that Ramia goes the same speed as walking. It's just the difference is you're in the air and you get to see the flying animation
Man.
because it's so slow. There's a part in the post game where you unlock and you have to fly towards like north until it appears in the sky and like opens up for
Mhm.
you. And I was just doing that and it was like I was pressing it and I was just like, okay, come on. And
Yeah.
it was just like a snail, slithering
Yep.
across the clouds. And I was like, why did they make it this slow?
Wow.
Like there's a whole world map here, and I get that I can zoom and I get that there's other ways to
Yeah.
explore, but like just going around and like collecting the items in the overworld, and, like finding secret areas,
Yep.
it's like I need Ramia and I need her to be fast. And
And
she
wow,
is I feel pretty confident in saying she is the slowest flying vehicle that I have ever gotten in a JRPG ever.
wow.
And I stand by
That's
that.
that's painful. Like, to be able to do that, like, that's really painful to think about, because there's a lot of really obnoxious like travel mechanics in JRPGs, and when you get a boat and the airships like where they don't work, but to be the slowest is pretty awful.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, and the camera is something like with that, like you said, like it's not a problem. It's not something that I ever would have even considered. I didn't even go into this game thinking I could. Like, I knew going in like how this game was made, but for some reason the way the world is structured, like the way they actually do the layers of the environment, it it really makes me feel like I should be able to spin the camera. And it's like I'm not even trying to look around behind anything. It's just I feel like I should be able to. And so I keep
Yeah.
trying just as habit, and I end up slowing myself down and toggling off the auto run because of it.
it didn't it didn't, and again, it wasn't a big deal for me except in the like when you get to the world map and everything like
Yeah,
that
yeah, that I
that
tried to,
that's
yeah, for sure.
that's really annoying. And like s- so that is like some irritations, I guess, that didn't make it into my review or whatever. And I do agree with the font and all of that stuff. You're playing it on Dragon Quest mode,
Yep, I'm
is that
playing it on
right?
just regular Dragon Quest. I didn't
Ha-
want to do Draki Quest, and I know I don't have it in me to play through the first time with Draconian
Draconian.
Quest.
I have not. I put it down into Draconian Quest. Just I put it down into each one to see what they were like,
Of
just out of
course.
curiosity. I've played it on Dragon Quest throughout. I did move it down to Draki Quest in the post game
Hmm.
at one point. And honestly, at this point, with where I'm at, I think I'll probably just keep it at Draki Quest for
Uh,
some of the trial stuff that I'm doing. And people can yell at me if they want, like, you didn't really earn it or whatever, because you can't die. But it's like, for that, it's like, I could sit there and grind another like 40 levels
hmm.
and then come back to it like 50 hours later and
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like, like I have a
Why?
family. Yeah, it's like I'm in my 30s. I'm gonna die one day. I have a family. I have other things to do. Like I'm okay with just putting it in a Draki quest and just seeing the content,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, I
And
understand that.
I still think it, like I would have liked it if the easy mode actually made the game easier rather than just like not letting you die. But
Right.
um
Does it not make the end? Does it lower hit points or make them hit less hard or anything? Or is it just that you can't
I
die?
I didn't keep Draki Quest up for very long, but but when I have switched it in there, from what I can tell, the fights are just as hard.
Mm,
Like the encounter rate is just as high, the fights are just as
yeah.
hard, your people hit the same, the health is all the same, MP
Yeah.
is the same. The only difference is you cannot drop below 1 HP.
Right.
So like if
Which,
you're under leveled, it's a great way to like cheese
yeah.
through, a section if you want to do that.
And by
But
section, you mean super boss. Uh,
yeah, well, yes, I'll talk
uh,
about that
I
later
actually
too.
don't know. I just, but that's what I
I keep
keep
getting
thinking about
ahead.
myself.
This is my problem is I don't want to spoil it for you or people
Right.
listening who haven't gotten that far yet. But also like you have to think like this is like week 4, I think, week 4 or week 5 for me of
Of you playing
of
it.
playing this game. So it's like which is kind of one thing that kind of sucks about the last few Dragon Quest games because I've reviewed them is
Hmm.
that like I get to play them I'm so far ahead. I don't get to do it like with you and like with the community.
Yeah.
Um the way I used to. And so on some level that really sucks because like everybody else is like, oh man, the monster arena
Right.
in Romeria, like when you first get there and like talking about that or whatever, and the camera angles and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And then meanwhile, I'm like 40 hours ahead of that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, this stupid dragon that I can't talk to anybody about yet.
Yep.
Like, why?
And
Um,
the also one of the things about the Switch, like for some reason you saying all of that reminded me. The other thing about the Switch is that I know you actually what made me think about it was you talk about the encounter rate not going down. The encounter rate's relatively high in this one
pretty,
so far,
it's pretty high and it gets
and
higher.
the Switch has to load, and the
Oh no.
PS5 doesn't.
Oh,
There's a good 3 to 4 seconds to go into the battles,
oh my
so
gosh.
it's not long by any means, like, but it does
It's
add up to where it's like, yeah, I see those books on the loading screen again, and I just end up like realizing, yeah, that should have been PS5 version because of the loading time.
that's
That's the other
honestly
reason.
That's honestly, I think, a deal breaker for me, knowing
Mm,
that. Like usually with Switch, I'm just like, graphics don't look as nice.
yeah,
Whatever, it's handheld. Like,
yeah,
whatever, I'm gonna go Switch. Like the Switch is still probably my favorite console, like ever. Like, I mean, I adore that thing.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but just knowing that and knowing how often I got in fights, how often, at a
yep,
certain point I would get to where I just like flee. but still have
Uh,
to sit there and watch stuff. But
yeah.
like knowing that I have to wait for that to load every single time and thinking about how pervasive it is,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that'd be a deal
It's
breaker.
it's
That's a deal
annoying.
breaker, ladies.
Uh, the only time that I've had the loading time in a game be a deal breaker is two times. Is the Final Fantasy VI Chronicles version on Final Fantasy VI on PS1, where you had to
That's a
load from the
bad one.
CD on everything. It was really bad. And
Bad, yep.
then during my replay of Chrono Cross from the PS1 on the Vita,
Okay.
even when I had it, sped up and using all of the stuff like that I could on there, it still had load times and animations because of being the PS1 version. That I finally just been like, yeah, I'm gonna wait on the remake to come out on that they're doing and just play through it again. But those are the only ones I've ever stopped because of. This isn't enough to make me stop. It's enough to make me notice and think, I bet Austin didn't have to deal with this on the PS5 because it loads like that on just about
It
everything.
Yeah, there'd be like a just a second load. Sometimes like I'd see those books at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah,
Like when you zoom, like
yeah, yeah,
If I cast evac or zoom, like I might have to, especially if it was
yeah.
like in a different world or something.
Right.
Um, but oops, that's a spoiler. Sorry,
That
people.
right.
Um,
But um,
I just assume that most people like 30-year game at least have some understanding, and maybe I shouldn't.
yeah, maybe we
But
shouldn't. But
sorry for the slip up there. But anyway, like but it's like 1 second. I mean, it's just like,
mhm.
oh look at them books, and then
I'm
it's
gonna
like
make
gone.
sure I'm gonna make sure that I count next time that I'm playing it so that I can actually tell you how long it takes to load in, because to load in and out, where it's like I said, it's not a game breaker. It's not something that I even would consider as being something like, oh, I'm not gonna play this. It is the like, oh, I noticed that. I bet the PS5 doesn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, and I'm the same way with I wasn't thinking of FF6. I was thinking of Chrono Trigger,
Oh yeah, that
which
one's even worse. Yeah, you're right,
I
because
can't
it's supposed
remember
to
if
be on the map, and it has loading time on the map where everything just freezes
one
instead
of
of just running
them's
up at you.
yeah, like one of them's FF Chronicles and one of them's FF
Uh-huh.
Anthology. One's got like six and five
One
and
of them's
six,
got
and then one's four in Chrono
four.
Trigger.
I think it's five in Chrono Trigger and four and six, maybe.
Okay,
I
yeah, I
can't.
can't.
It's been a long
It,
time, but yeah, it's one of
Yeah,
those.
same. Anyway,
Um,
I own them. I've touched them. I played them, whatever. But yeah,
yeah.
the one with Chrono Trigger, like that, I remember doing that one on PS1,
Hmm.
and it's like, and literally, and this was playing it in like 2020, I think.
Yeah.
Like I would have it on there, and it's like it started loading, and I can
Yep.
remember talking to you about the time where I went from my living room into the kitchen,
Yep.
made a sandwich,
And
came
came
back
back.
down, sat down with my sandwich and like water, ate like a few
Yep.
bites, drank some, and for it to all
And
load
then
in.
it loaded in.
Yeah.
Um, well, we'll end on that for today with loading in and making a sandwich. We have roughly enough time to make a sandwich on here before our cheapo Zoom runs out. So thank you guys for listening today. I am going to check on that stuff, and next time we play, I'll be able to report back on the performance on that, on how long it takes to load that kind of thing, so you can make an even better informed decision on getting it. But yeah, so Austin, do the outro.
Yeah. So we'll get more into like the actual gameplay mechanics of the game too once BJ has a little bit farther to go in. Hopefully, teaser for next time. If everything goes according to plan for the next episode, BJ and I are actually going to get to be together.
Maybe
I don't know
so.
if can we make our fingers touch in the
I
video
can't.
here?
You're above me on here, so it's like it's
Oh,
gonna
you're
be weird.
beside me.
It's like
Okay, well, anyway, maybe it worked.
maybe,
But we'll be
but
together for real, hopefully,
yep.
for next week's
So
episode. So you can listen to us together and even watch us together. And it's probably even more manic than when we're
it
apart,
probably will
like
be.
this.
It
So
absolutely
just
will be.
forewarning. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode. If you want to chat with us, we're on Blue Sky and Twitter at Dragon Quest FM.